that the limit from the left is equal to the limit from the right, which is equal to f of a. طب يا ريت في هيك بالحياة كمان copy paste مثل اوكي so
هو حتبعت لنا اياهم صح؟
you can write it on your copybook هلا رح ارجع قلت لكم المره الماضيه قبل شوي انا بعت لكم summary عن functions كل شيء على functions في هاي الكونتينيوتي بالبارت الليمتس ناسي اكتبها بس بدي ارجع زيدها وارجع ابعتكم اياها عن جديد بس انه you can write it on your copybook طيب so the three conditions, the number in the domain, it means that the function is defined at this given number. 2, the limit as x approaches this number exists. It means the limit from the left is equal to the limit from the right. And 3, the limit of the function is equal to the value of this function at the given number. This means that when I say limit from the left is equal to the limit from the right is equal to f of a. Sometimes we replace these three conditions or these three statements in one statement only, which is this. Sometimes we say, instead of writing all these, a function is continuous at x equal a if we have a function is continuous at x equal a, where a is a number in the domain, where a belongs to the domain. And when we talk about continuity of a number in the domain. Okay? So here, once we are saying a is in the domain, it means condition number 1 is satisfied. If we have the following, limit as x approaches a is equal to f of a. Right. In fact, once you say that limit as x approaches a, it means that the limit exists. Once you are talking about the limit, so you say that the limit exists, or it means that the limit exists. Limit as x approaches a exists. So this statement, limit as x approaches a, is equal to a certain number, You are saying here the limit is a number, it means that the limit exists. It means that the limit from the left is equal to the limit from the right. Okay? This statement is equivalent to these. Howdy, hi, how, equivalent. And sometimes, let's say in your book, I guess they wrote only this. Okay? But you have to understand that the limit is equal to f of a, it means that the limit from the left is equal to the limit from the right. To give an example, let's say f of x is equal to x plus 2 if x is less than or equal to 5 and it's equal to negative x or negative x squared, let's say, plus 2 and a number 25 plus 7x minus 3 if x is greater than 5. And let's check if the function is continuous at x equal 5. Question: is the function continuous? At x equal 5? For the answer, or for the solution. To check the continuity, we have to check these three conditions. First of all, is 5 in the domain? 5, is it in the domain?
أكيد أستاذ.
Now look, when you here we have or equal 5. It is the function is equal to x plus 2 if x is less than or equal to 5. So 5 is in the domain. So first step, 5, first condition, 5 is in the domain. 5 is in the domain. And f of 5, what's f of 5? Where do you replace x by 5? In the first one or in the second one?
First one.
In the first, where we have equal. شنو طلع بالي اختار انا first one or the second? لا. Where we have equal. Here, again, to remind you, piecewise functions, when you say f of x is equal to this or this, according to the values of x. So if the number here is less than or equal to 5, you replace this number or you replace x by this number in the first one here. If the number is more than 5, you replace x by this number in this. Because here we have f of 5, the number is equal to 5, so you replace it in the first one. So it's 5 plus 2, which is equal to 7. So this is the first condition satisfied. Now let's find the limit. Limit from the left and limit from the right. Limit as x approaches 5 minus. Limit as x approaches 5 minus. Is equal to limit as x approaches 5 minus of what? When I say 5 minus,
لا بدنا نحط ماينس وبلس.
نعم.
لا بدنا نحط 5 ماينس ولا انهي less than or equal.
مش انه انا اخترت less than or equal. The second condition here, follow with me. The second condition, the limit should exist. What do you mean by the limit exists? It means limit from the left is equal limit from the right. Limit as x approaches a minus is equal to limit as x approaches a plus. So you have to find both sides limit. Limit as x approaches the number minus and number plus. And then you compare. If they are not equal, so the function is not continuous. Okay?
Okay.
Type. Now, as x approaches 5 minus, which function do we consider, the first or the second?
First. First.
Because here x approaches 5 minus, so x is smaller than 5. X is less than 5. So you consider the first one. So it is the limit of x plus 2. The limit of x plus 2, which is equal to, replace x by 2 by 5, 5 plus 2, which is equal to 7. So the limit from the left is equal to 7. Now let's find limit from the right. Limit from the right. Limit of f of x as x approaches 5 plus. X approaches 5 plus, it means that x is greater than 5, right? 5 plus, so x is greater than 5. So you have to consider this function. صح? You have to consider negative x squared plus 7x minus 3. It is the limit of this. بحكي شيء مفهوم ولا في حدا مش فاهم؟ بس خلوني أعرف.
استاذ هو بدنا نشوف الاثنين اذا equal يعني.
صح. So it is negative 5 squared plus 7 times 5 plus 3 or minus 3, which is equal to abracadabra 7. So does the limit exist?
أكيد لأنهم equal.
صح.
The limit exists. The limit from the left is 7. The limit from the right is also 7. So here, the second condition is satisfied. So here I can say limit as x approaches 5, now minus 12 plus. Limit as x approaches 5 is equal to 7. Right. The function is defined at 5. The limit as x approaches 5 exists. Right. Is the function continuous now? The third condition.
Yes, لأنه هي كمان equal لل f of x.
f of 5 is 7. And the limit. وين راحت هذيك؟ بلشش. تل. بعد الصورة واضحة عندكم؟
يا أستاذ مغبش.
مغبشي وفعلا مغبشي يعني. وخطر له والله هذا كمان.
بس انه بينقشع.
بعرف بس ما هو مش ماشي بالمرة متلت. not responding.
خلاص أستاذ سكر وجهنا، يلا نطفوا وننام.
ناتالي اوعى تحكي شي كلمة. والله انا شو اختار لك هلا؟
طلقت هي يا أستاذ، بدك ترجع تظهر من البروجرام.
خلاص شفناكم بخير يا جماعة الخير.
ما هو بده يعمل شيء ليك. كويس. ما تنشر. close the program. Please open your books on page 126, exercise number 7. نشوف يحب يرجع يشتغل عن جديد. نايس. بعضهم موجودين بس مش حابب يعمل شيء. بعضهم موجودين. نايس. اوكي.
عطر أصحابنا.
بس بعده مش ناوي يعمل شيء.
عمر طلع منا عمر ريفرش أستاذ.
نعم.
طلع من البرنامج عمر ريفرش 3 مرات وقفل.
بعده not responding.
أنت ليه أحكي لك شي كلمة؟
لا.
أستاذ عن جد يعني قطعنا إياها كمان.
الحمد احنا تلي. نتالي.
نعم أستاذ.
شو بكي؟ ايش اخذ على خاطرك؟
أنا؟
ايه
أكيد لا يا أستاذ ولو.
فكرت. لك تفضل يا راح كل شيء كتبناه. منيح هي؟
بسيطة بتصير أستاذ.
أصلا أستاذ ما كنتش فاهمان أنا فمنيح.
طيب. Exercise number 7, page 126. Yeah. Number 7, page 126. study the continuity of the numerical function at the given point of abscissa z, x0 in each of the following cases. Part 1. Do you have the book? Do you have the book? Hello? On, it says. But here you have to study the continuity of this function at x equal to 0. Okay. Who would like to start? Who would like to start?
أنا ببلش بس يمكن كل شيء يطلع معي غلط بس يلا.
ولا شيء. The first condition. Is the function defined at 0?
إيه.
What is f of 0?
0.
Good. F of 0 equal to 0, it's given. Here we are saying f of x is equal to 0. Hi. F of x is equal to 0 if x equal to 0. So it means that f of 0 equal to 0. So it's defined. Here it's defined. The first condition is satisfied. Now the second condition, you have to find limit as x approaches 0.
كمان 0.
ليه؟
شنو عطينا إياها 0؟
With one remark. Limit as x approaches 0. In this one, when you say x different than 0, behind x different than, not necessarily 0, x different than any number. It means that when you have to find limit, please small, مش قادر اكتبها note. When you are given here x different than a given number, it means that the limit as x approaches 0 minus or 0 plus, you have to use this function. You have to use 1 over x. Okay?
Infinite.
Because here when I say x is different than 0, what do you mean by x different than 0? That means that this number is more than 0 or less than 0. So 0 minus or 0 plus, you have to use 1 over x. Right? Whether you have to find limit as x approaches 0 minus or 0 plus, you have to use 1 over x. لأن هون عندي not equal to. Not equal يعني it could be greater than, it could be less than. In both cases, you have to use this function. Okay? So limit as x approaches 0 minus of f of x. Yes, Natalie. That's
يعني
equal to
1 على 0 minus.
1 over 0 minus, which is equal to what? Number over 0.
Minus infinity.
Good. It's minus infinity. By the way, from this step, we can stop and say that the function is not continuous. Right?
بلا.
From this step, we can stop and say that the function is not continuous. ليه؟ لأنه limit as x approaches 0 minus is infinity. It is not a number. So it can't be equal to f of 0. It can't be equal to 0. فخلاص هذا بكفي نقول إن the function is not continuous. Right?
بلا.
From this one, I can say it's not equal to f of 0. This is enough to say that the function is not continuous. So the function is not continuous at x equal to 0. I'll show you graphically this function. وليش هي منا equal منا continuous at x equal to 0. Now please try to solve the second one. Negative x if x is less than 0, and 1 over 2x if x is greater than or equal to 0. Here we have 1 over x, and we have the point, the origin, in fact. As you can see here, the function is not continuous at x equals 0. At 0, لكن function ما continuous. هاي واحدة طالعة لفوق وواحدة نازلة تحت. Okay. Now part 2. Now, ما فهمت عليك. ايه بل ايه at x equal to 0. اكتب لك هون like read the statement of the question. Study the continuity at x0. And you are given the value of this x0. أعطيك إياها بالexercise. F of x equal to whatever at x0 equal to 0. It means you have to study the continuity at 0. In part 3, for example, study the continuity at 1. In part 4, study the continuity at 3. Right? Yeah, part 2. You have negative x if x is smaller than 0, and half x if x is greater than 0. Now please try to find limit as x approaches 0 minus, limit as x approaches 0 plus, and find f of 0. Check if these three values are equal or not, to determine or to study the continuity at 0. Yeah.
ليش عم بفهم منك شيء للصراحة.
لا قل لي مش هتفهم ليش هيك؟ شو اللي مش فاهم؟ لا خبرني. زيرو continuity و continuous. واو. دانيال صح؟ ويام لا هيك مش هتظبط معنا. طيب دائما انا اسمعني شوي. دانيال بتعمل ويام هيك بس اعطيني تكه صغيره. نرجع شو
قصيتك كلمة واحدة أستاذ.
هيك ما اختلفناش. Yeah, just one moment. Yeah. بينهم بمحل هون. يلا هل اللي بعده تطلع continuous. ويام يا ويام وين نحن اوكي كنا عم نقول شغله continuity. A function is continuous. A function is said to be continuous at x equal a, where a is a number in the domain, if the limit of f of x as x approaches a is equal to f of a. اللي كنا عم نحكيها. In other words, it is continuous if we have these three conditions. The number should be in the domain. That means that f of a is defined. Okay, condition number 1. The limit as x approaches a exists. يعني لازم يكون limit from the left equal limit from the right. And the third condition, we must have these three values: limit from the left, limit from the right, and f of a should be equal. But in this exercise, or in this example here, exercise, you have this function. The first condition, f of 0, is it defined? Yeah, defined, because here you are given f of x equal to 0 if x equal to 0. هو عطيني الفانكشن. It means that f of 0 equals 0. So the first condition is satisfied. The second condition, limit as x approaches 0 minus. Limit as x approaches 0 minus, it's negative infinity. خلاص, I can stop from here. في يوقف هون واقول انه هي الفانكشن مالنا continuous. هلا اذا مش معجبك ليه مالنا continuous؟ notice that a real number. كيف بدها تكون continuous؟ كيف يكون limit as x approaches؟ شوف هذا third condition. كيف تكون limit as x approaches a minus equal f of a وحده منهم هي infinity. limit infinity فيها تكون f of a ما f of a هي 0. دايما f of a هي real number. f of a is a real number. وهذا الليمت طلع infinity فما لهم equal. So it's not continuous. إذا مش معجبك خيو بلاها. نكمل. فيك تقول هالشيء. limit as x approaches 0 minus. واحد ما عجبه شيء بدي اقول هيك limit as x approaches 0 minus بدي اشتغل حرفيا مثل هون limit as x approaches 0 minus it's equal to negative infinity كمل and limit as x approaches 0 plus it's 1 over 0 plus, which is equal to positive infinity. Are they equal? Limit from the left. Is it equal to the limit from the right?
لا.
No. So the function is not continuous at. The limit from the left is not equal to the limit from the right. So f is not continuous, or the function, or f بدك here. So f is not continuous.
اوكي.
At x equals 0.
وإذا كانت continuous بيطلع equal كلهم نفس الشيء.
بيطلع هون بتصير equal. Limit from the left, limit from the right, and f of 0 بيطلع equal.
اوكي.
بهاي هلا بتشوف بهالاكزامبل ببارت 2 رح يطلع equal. باسل يلا طلعت معك continuous؟ يلا تفضل. اوكي. f of 0 where did you replace x by 0? When I multiply 1 over 2 times 0. Okay, good, which is equal to 0. So here we replace x by 0 and this one محل ما في equal. Right, good. The first condition is satisfied. Now limit as x approaches 0 minus. Limit as x approaches 0 minus, x is less than 0. So I use this one. So it is equal to limit of negative x. Negative x. Replace x by 0, it's equal to 0. Right. And limit as x approaches 0 plus, that is equal to limit as x approaches 0 plus, 0 plus, it means that x is greater than 0. So you replace in this one, half x, so it is the limit of half x, which is equal to 0. So, is the function continuous? We are.
Yes,
Yeah, we are. Allah.
معك
limit as x approaches 0 minus it's 0. Limit as x approaches 0 plus is also 0. And f of 0 كمان 0. Here the three values are equal. So the function is continuous at x equals 0.
اوكي
Okay? There you can say limit as x approaches 0 minus is equal to limit as x approaches 0 plus it's equal to f of 0. In fact, it's equal to 0. Minus 0. So the function continues. The function f is continuous at x equals 0. Okay? مش الحال؟
اوكي استاذ ثانك يو.
في حد عنده أي سؤال؟ Any questions?
أستاذ الأسئلة تبع هيك أشياء دايما بتجي هيك؟
أي. هلا وين بتكون يعني إذا بدك صعوبة exercises ممكن إنه in finding the limit. Finding the limit. هلا هودي أوكي بسيطين. Direct replace you get number وخلصنا. ممكن أحيانا خياك يتسامك علي شوي. إنه the limit here in finding limit as x approaches 0 minus مثل ما كنا عم نشتغل الليمتس بأول exercises. والله فيهم radical فيهم rationalize فيهم شو بعرف شو. بس هيك.
أوكي.
بس إنه the way to find or to discuss the continuity at a given number دايما standard هودي ما في مجال للبحث يعني هيك خلص limit from the left limit from the right and the function بس ما في غيره.
اوكي ثانك يو.
أستاذ
طيب
أستاذ
نعم
كيف بعرف إذا شو اسمه الأكس defined ولا لا؟
يعني مثلا هون f of 0 f of 0 here you have f of x equal half x if x is greater than or equal to 0. شايف هيدي or equal يعني 0 is in the domain صح؟
إيه
لو أنا نفترض كان عندك إياها هيك بدي أغير شوي بالstatement of the question. نفترض كان عندك إياها هيك strictly greater than. What is f of 0? Do you replace x by 0 in the first one? لا لأنه هون x is strictly less than 0. Do you replace in the second one? No because here x is strictly greater than 0. In this case مثل ما أنا كاتبهم هيك in this case the function is not defined at 0. The function is not defined at 0. So I stop not continuous. Not defined so not continuous at 0. خلصنا.
أستاذ كيف معك زيرو ها في نمبر 2
اسمع طيب
كيف طلعوا معك زيرو؟
جاد ممكن تعيد سؤالك لأنه صوت عطش. جاد
لك كيف طلعوا معك زيرو؟
بأي وحدة كيف طلعت معي زيرو؟
بنمبر 2
ايه أي وحدة أي بارت كلهم زيروز أي وحدة عم تسأل عنها.
أستاذ عن الاثنين.
أوكي yeah. اسمعني يا جاد عم تحكي عن هودي points 2 and 3 or let's say this one. Okay ماشي. Back to the limits what we studied about limits. Okay? Limit as x approaches 0 minus limit as x approaches 0 minus. Here, when you say 0 minus, it means that x is less than 0, صح?
مظبوط.
So which one of these two parts I consider? Do I consider negative x or half x?
لا negative x.
Okay, here because negative x if x is less than 0. So it is the limit as x approaches 0 minus of negative x. Replace now x by 0. What do you get?
0.
Okay. هيك طلع معنا 0.
بس هي
Same
0
idea
minus.
for x.
طبعاً
اوكي
تحت
انتبه شغله. انتبه شغله. مش نحن قلنا انه هيدي 0 minus 0 plus we use it just to determine from which side. يعني هون I used 0 minus to say that x is smaller than 0. For that reason I considered negative x. But when you replace x by 0 exactly 0. وهذه الفلسفة انه you take a number slightly less than slightly greater than just to determine the sign. يعني إذا
اوكي
تتذكر حتى هون إذا بدك شغلة. In fact here if you replace a number slightly less than 0 you will get, let's say, negative 0.1. Replace x by negative 0.1 you get positive 0.1. In fact here I can say limit as x approaches 0 to 0 plus. يعني very close to 0 بس أعلى شوي from the upper part of 0.
اوكي استاذ ثانك يو.
أستاذ بتعطينا بريك بليز؟ شكلها قطعت عنده الكهرباء. ايه ايه لا اخذ بريك، قامت راحت عنده الكهرباء حرام.
انقطع الإنترنت أو بس عندي راح؟
على الجروب إنه راحت الكهرباء عنده.
إن شاء الله هلا يحط الحق علي.